So, hello everyone, and welcome to our super short lesson about working with triggering clients. I appreciate you being here in person in these numbers. It's very nice and shows something about how how triggering clients to work with. My name is Nir Esterman. I'm Family Constellations and Embodied Shadow Work teacher and the founder of Shadow Constellations. Shadow Constellations is a modality that I've created to kind of bridge the gap between what we know how to work with and the presence and that we need to be in order to work with it, which often needs us to be more in touch with what is in our shadow, what we disown, deny, and repress. In our lesson today, we will look at triggering clients and get a sense of what is it about. And I'll offer some quick tips and some short experiential process to help us navigate this aspect of working with people. We will have some time at the end for a few sharings or questions, but because it's a short lesson, I won't be able to answer questions during it. If you are left with questions, feel free to text me afterwards and I'll be happy to answer them later. So, where should we start? First, with the basic safety rules. Please only do what feels comfortable for you. You don't have to do anything, even if I ask you to do it. Whatever I say is a perspective, maybe a wise one, but still, if it sits well with you, take it. If it doesn't resonate, leave it here. If you need to move or sit or sit down or stand or anything else that's in order to be feeling well as you're present here, feel free to do that. Please try to stay with your camera on because it makes me more settled and when I see faces and people rather than black things with names staring at me. So it will help me to be here for you in a better way. This lesson is recorded. If you want to share things, and I'll ask you to share some things, please do it in the chat so your privacy is maintained. The chat will not be shared, but the recording will be shared. Yeah. So let us begin. What are triggering clients? Right? It was a very catchy title, right? But what are actually triggering clients? And instead of me telling you, I will ask you to tell us. So please write in the chat in really like a short sentence, what do you consider triggering clients? What is triggering you with clients? Okay. So we got a sense. Maybe I read a few of what you'll share, but not all of it, that you can read each other experience about what are triggering clients. And it's not a tricky question, okay? I will also answer it afterwards, but first let us have some real hands-on replies. Clients whose material provokes what's in me, so classical shadow perspective. Clients that create anger or my past trauma from childhood. So this is more of a trauma triggering, right? What else do we have in the triggering client section? Someone who irritates us. Yeah, that's a good sign for some of the possible triggers. Uncommunicative. That's a specific class, but yes, we'll talk about them too. What else? The most tricky I had was when I felt attracted to a client. This is actually a very classical shadow triggering to be attracted to a client. It falls under erotic countertransference. We'll mention briefly later. There is stupidity, or the fear of being stupid ourselves, of course. Someone who expects me to fix them instead of using the space for reflection on their own inner world. Yeah, so the passive clients are triggering for many of us, or the ones who wish us to do their work, to use us in a way. Clients who probably have similarities with my life story, particularly the distressing parts of it. Yes, and again, it can be more shadow, more trauma, kind of triggering in that part. Brings out the judgment in me, classical shadow, anger, sadness, fine. Want support but fight, so the clients who push back, who are not, playing nice with us, can be sometimes triggering. Those who refuse to own and refuse to change, more of the same. Client with difficult trauma, I guess, like lots of trauma underlies a lot of the field in general. Okay, thank you for your answers. I'll take them in and I'll kind of group them into 4 loose categories of triggering clients, so we can maybe get a better sense of what this triggering is all about. Well, the first group is maybe the most classical thing associated with triggering clients. These are clients that we see or project onto them some of our own material which we have in our own shadow, meaning I'm not like that, they are. I'm not selfish, my client is selfish. Oh, I'm not weak, my client is I am mature, my client is childish. I enjoy being a child. My client is so serious. I'm just feeling dry just by sitting in the same room with them. Um, so that's like a classical shadow. I'm not like that, they are, and that creates all kinds of triggers in me. What triggers? Well, there are 6 classical ones. One is the fight, shadow triggering. It basically says, I want to change the client. I want to change the triggering. I want to change this quality. I want to make it disappear. I'm willing to change the client, to manipulate the client. I'm willing to make them see why they should change themselves. And unconsciously, under all of that, I'm willing to make the clients disappear. And because I want to make what they're carrying to disappear from me. Sometimes we do it nicely, sometimes not, but this is the fight shadow response. We want to move closer and to shake them and make them move and change. A second response is a flight shadow response, which is basically we want to move away from them. We just don't want to be next to people like that. Simple. I'm not working with clients like that, right? With the not serious ones, with those who don't do homework, with don't appreciate me, with those who don't this or don't that. I'm not working with them. Yeah. Or I'm referring them to professionals who could be a better fit. Or I'm staying with them, but I'm just suffering because I don't want to be there for some reason. Okay. Then we have the freeze. In a freeze shadow response, which is of course close to freeze trauma response, we kind of lose touch with our will, with what's right and wrong. We kind of flow with what the client wants or needs, or what we believe they need, even if it's not what they need. So we kind of lose a sense of our own compass and are in a kind of a more foggy space where we please and comply, and sometimes it's just not very professional, and sometimes it ends up much worse. There is a kind of response which is about fainting, meaning I'm tired, I'm yawning, I want to sleep, I'm fighting my wanting to sleep. I sometimes fall asleep, even briefly, especially if you're doing kinds of body work. It can happen easily, like you're putting your hands on the client. What was that? And there are, of course, some horror stories where the client lies on the couch and the psychologist falls asleep. It's not because they are boring us. It's because the content is so deeply in our shadow, often not just our personal shadow, but also our cultural shadow, that we just cannot stay present. Okay, so this would be the faint response. So the first two are very clear, right? When there is a fight or flight, we know that we don't like the person or that we don't like something about them. The freeze and faint are kind of vague. We not always understand that we're triggered. They're subtle. We think we're tired. We think there isn't enough air. We think the content may be heavy. We don't call it a trigger usually, but it is a trigger. And when we identify the shadows involved, then we're better off. And the next two are the golden shadow triggers. First one is friends. In the friends one, we just want unconsciously to be friends with the clients. We kind of lose the sense of hierarchy, the sense of professional boundaries. Like, well, we could be friends because we're similar in some ways. We have similar values. We like the same things. We appreciate the same things. We dislike the same things. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's more like, oh, you're so cool. I like to be next to you. Maybe I get some of your coolness. And it can take different shapes. So that's the essence of the friends. It's subtle. Um, it's not always clear what's wrong with being friendly. Well, being friendly is okay. It's being friends, which is a problem. I can be a very friendly therapist. I cannot be a friend of my clients, both because it's not ethical, but the reason it's not ethical it is because my clients pay for my time. I don't pay for their time. I'm responsible in different ways than they are. And when we're friends, I want to have some me time and let's meet and talk about myself, right? Which is not the idea. And yet I've seen therapists to do that. And the last one is about eroticism or erotic countertransference. This is where we feel attraction towards our client. It can be more gently romantic or strongly romantic, like, you kind of remind me of my wife or my ex-girlfriend, or I kind of fancy you. And it can be more sexual in nature, or more erotic but not sexual. It happens. It's not saying anything bad about us. It says that there is some shadow material at work here that we want to have a look at. And in the shortest version of why this happens is because when something is missing in us because we pushed it away, and we meet someone who have the same quality, we will feel like together we are whole. Together we can be one. Yeah. So something wants to merge with these clients, and it can take up different forms of merging depending on us, our preferences, and specific clients, some biochemistry. Yeah. So these are the classical ways in which we are triggered, shadow triggered. And this says more about us than about the clients. Okay, because really the first group of triggering clients are clients that didn't do anything wrong. They're not necessarily difficult clients or aggressive or manipulative or whatever. They're just have in themselves something which we do not know how to handle well because it's in our shadow and we get triggered in different ways. The solution here is basically do our own shadow work. If I can identify what is it that I don't like or that triggers me in different ways in them and learn how to accept it in myself, well, that's the work. We have different ways of doing it. I really like the combination of family constellations and shadow work for that, so shadow constellations, but there are other ways and they're perfectly fine. The second group are the clients that we feel that perhaps unconsciously they draw us into some complex dynamic, let's say perpetrator-victim or parent-child dynamic, and we don't like, we disagree, we object to the role that we are given in this relationship. Maybe the objection is to the specific role, maybe it's to the fact that we find ourselves in a role that we didn't invite. Basically, in psychological terms, it falls under transference and countertransference. So these are the roles that unconsciously play in the field. However, unless you consciously intend to work with this topic from within the transference, there are several really nice techniques to do something so that you won't be in the role. You'll be able to look at it, to get in touch with it, to work with it without having to necessarily be inside of it. Yeah, if this is what you want. In a way, the reason why we find ourselves in a role in a transference is not because it has to happen, because with different clients we find ourselves in different roles to different degrees of depth of the role. And with some clients, it feels like transference is really not a big issue in this specific relationship. So it's not a necessary aspect of any therapy or any coaching or any facilitation. However, when it does happen, and it does, of course, happen, especially with early traumatized clients, we unconsciously accept the role because of there is something in our system. There is, let's say, if I accepted the role of a father, there probably is a missing father or missing child dynamic in my family system, which makes it very easy for me to fill in the missing father. Yeah. And it could be other things which are in the shadow of my family or culture or tribe. But when I identify the missing roles on my side and include them, realizing that, oh, let's say in my specific case, my father is an orphan. He doesn't remember his parents even. So of course it's very easy for me to make up for a missing parent as a facilitator or a therapist. When I realize that and I can include in my consciousness the missing roles and the missing people in my family system, I'm less likely to get captured. On a complementary role, if I can help my client to include their missing people, they will feel much less of a need to transfer them onto us. So if my parent has their mom, I can't take her place. She's already here. Yeah, simple. So I want to help my clients to include their family members. And I also want to myself kind of remember that these family members exist and I cannot replace them. If I'm really aware of my client's father, I could not, be in the same place at the same time. If their father is here, I can't take their place. Okay. So this is the second group and how to work with them. Third version of triggering clients are the clients that cannot be reached or cannot be helped. The clients who are more disconnected, dissociated, lost in their trauma, and the clients who push us away, the clients who refuse our help in different ways, and more conscious and verbal, less conscious and verbal. Many of us find these clients very triggering because they're not doing something to us. They're not necessarily forcing us to be in a transference relationship, but they make us meet helplessness and hopelessness and despair and uselessness and not knowing what to do. And for many of us who really love being therapists and facilitators because, hey, we know what to do and we can help you, this is really challenging. And when we are not aware, and even when we are aware this is happening, we can easily find ourselves triggered into trying to change the state of the client to make them more responsive to what we want to do, and to make them understand that it's wrong, to push them, to maneuver them. And sometimes we just ignore what we don't like about them. So I'm ignoring the fact that it's heavy and stuck and try to focus on what's possible, but it's not really working. I remember a client that every time that I tried to offer anything, she would like, I'm in the middle of the minefield and you're not going to move me away from the minefield. I'm like, but I have a great tool to help you out of the minefield. She was like, not interested. Brilliant client. And she taught me a lot about how to just, when we have this phenomena showing up, it tells us that there is a lot of abuse, usually early abuse, yeah, in the client system, maybe Most of it is personally theirs, maybe some of it or a lot of it is in the larger family system. We want to be extra trauma sensitive and trauma informed. We want to first be there, present with ourselves, with the client, only offer solutions when they actually ask for solutions, and find out what they need and not what we want to give. Know in advance that we will fail and we will step on a mine here and there, communicate well with the clients that it will happen. It's a question of time. But if we can prepare for it, we can also recover from it and move to a safer place. And it kind of invites us to meet really challenging shadows, yeah, in the sense of helplessness and hopelessness and despair, which on the personal level are challenging, but also on a cultural level, usually we don't think these are great qualities, right? To be helpless, hopeless, and in despair. So we have to go through a lot of layers of shadow, not just our personal shadows, in order to be present with clients who triggers us in that way. And the last category are the clients that we feel are manipulating us. They're doing something to us, and we feel that. It's not this, subtle transference happening in the background, and we have some choice about being in the soup or moving out of the soup. It's like they're actively trying to manipulate us in different ways, more subtle or more direct. And we usually have strong reactions to that. In some cases, it elicits a trauma response from us. We can freeze or attack or just feel rage, wanting to do something to them or cut them away very quickly from us. And it's not necessarily about what is the specific manipulation that they're doing. It's the fact that they're manipulating us, that they're applying force onto us, that they don't leave us with choice. Huh? Usually, again, clients with lots of early and severe trauma, or how psychiatry likes to call them, people with personality disorders, or who scale high on different scales with different names, narcissism and others, of personality disorders. Yeah. I think this is like universally agreed that these are challenging clients and triggering in different ways. And naturally, I can't offer a solution that will just solve the problem. However, I will say that what makes us porous, what makes them able to get so deep into us, in addition to their issues and their abilities, is again our shadow. And usually it's the shadow that we are the most ashamed of and the most unwilling to see in ourselves that makes them able to get into us in that way. So there we will find shadows such as the perpetrator in me, the heartless in me, and the uncaring in me, the victim in me, and the thing that I'm really, really don't want to think of myself as like that. This is what I will see with these clients. This is the shadow that I will need to meet in myself in order to be less permeable or less porous to these clients. So we covered 4 kinds of triggering clients and kind of 4 directions of or kinds of shadows to work with. I hope that this was helpful so far. And of course, this is a model. It's not like actual reality. All clients have a little bit of this or that. The idea is to be able to notice what aspect of what is happening with the client is triggering me right now, so that I can respond to it in a better way. Instead of just saying, I don't know, it's triggering, or I just can't stand this client. Just wish they stopped this or that. Like, wait a minute, yes, but what exactly is going on really helps us to find a better solution. What I would like to take you now to is a short process. It's more exploratory than going full depth because we have limited time and it's a one-time session. But I find that even this limited intervention is sometimes helpful to the extreme if we remember to do it. Sometimes even in real time, when we sit with clients and we notice that something is going on. So reminder, you don't have to do anything. And if something feels too much or too overwhelming, you can just step off and step away from the process. It's okay. And at any time, you can also connect to what you consider as resources or support to just feel more safe and settled. Okay? So probably, well, I know that some of you know constellation work and actually already studied with me, but I don't know about the rest of you, so I will not assume any previous knowledge. I'll just guide you through the process. I invite you to choose some, say, 6 or 7 small objects to have with you. Can be pieces of paper that you write something on. It can be just any random objects that are not the same so that you can differentiate between them when you will be using them. We will be using these objects as representations. I'm giving everyone a moment to get ready. Okay. So, take a moment to think about a client that you find triggering. It can be a client from the present times or from the past. I do ask that you don't choose a client that, directly harmed you, because this can also happen. And if that's the case, then I'll want to have a better container to hold. So choose a client that triggers you, but did not actually harm you or like seriously threaten you. Okay? This would need more personalized attention that we can give right now. And it's okay if you have more than one, just please choose one clearly. A specific person that you remember, so you can have a clear process and not get mixed with different people with similar dynamic. Okay, now from the object that you have, please choose one object to act as a representation for yourself. It doesn't have to remind you of yourself. You just give it this role to represent yourself. It will help us to get some understanding about the dynamics in the field. And please choose a second representation for this triggering client. And place them intuitively in relation to each other in a certain distance and facing a certain direction that in and after you did that, please step on your representation, meaning just place your hand on top of your representation. You can touch it with a finger or two, or with the palm of your hand, which is my favorite way, but what works for you. And as you do that, you just take a moment to connect with the energy of yourself in this field of yourself and this client. Notice how you feel. Notice your body, your breathing, your posture. If you feel small or big, how much space you take in the space of your client. Does it feel like you want to move or to change anything? Notice your emotions. Do you have strong emotions? Do you have no emotions? More solid emotion or more shifting emotions? How do you feel about your client emotionally? Notice if you have any thoughts, any images that pops to your mind, any memories that can be about that client or just in general. Any sounds or noises that you pick up in your ears, be them external or internal. And mainly notice how you feel about your clients. How is your dynamic? Are you high level or is one of you feeling above the other? Is there some power dynamic between the two of you? And if yes, is it subtle or outspoken? How comfortable do you feel with the client right now? Does it feel like you want to get closer or move further away, or this distance is good? Do you want to change them? Do you want to change yourself? Are you tired? Are you confused or focused? Do you feel any kind of attraction or interest in them? Whatever you feel is okay. Just notice that. And then step off, sort of disengage from your representation, shake your hand, take a breath. And then step on the representation of the client. You're placing your hand on the object representing your client. And as you do that, you're kind of allowing yourself to feel like your client does. Not how you think they feel, but really somehow connect energetically with something of their essence, so that you can have an in-person, first-person sense of how it feels to be them in your presence. And just notice how it feels. It usually feels different than how you feel with yourself. Any body reactions are okay. Yawning, shaking, tearing, feeling energized, whatever. How do you feel as your client? How do you feel your body? How much space do you take? What interests you in general? And what interests you in this relationship, in your therapist or facilitator? How is your dynamic like from the side of the client? And step off. Shake your hand, take a breath. And please add a third representation. This one is for something that is in your shadow, meaning you're not in touch with it, whether it's your personal shadow, family, cultural shadow, collective shadow, you're just not enough in touch with it in a way which really impacts the dynamic with this client. You hold space for them, the way that you were triggered by them, whichever the case is. Yeah? And you don't have to step on this representation. Just notice what happens when you place it and you go back to your representation. Does it change anything in how you feel? In your sense of presence, in how you feel with the client, in how you hold space? And step off from your representation. Shake your hand, take a breath, and step on the representation of your client. Taking a moment to connect with their energy, or the energy of their representation, and noticing if it feels like something is maybe changing for them too, once this essence, which is in your shadow, is being acknowledged by being represented. Sometimes this little step is a game changer in real time. Okay, step off. Take a breath, shake your hand. Shake both hands just to be sure. The next representation we will add is for a support or a resource for yourself in being able to be a little bit more in touch with this essence in your shadow. Something that allows you to be more present with it, to have more space for it. You don't need to know what it is. Yeah? Just place the representation where it feels right, and then go back to your representation and notice, is there any difference in how you feel? With yourself, with your shadow element, and with the client. The shadow was born in trauma, so resources help us to navigate, reconnecting with it. Even one may make a difference. Step off, shake your hand, take a breath. We'll add one last representation, okay? This representation is for something in your extended family system. So your family system, including ancestors, previous generations, culture, tribe, collective, something that needs or wants to be acknowledged about this element which is in your shadow. You don't need to know what it is. You don't even need to step on it to find out what it is. Just place the representation so that it is acknowledged, even if not accessed directly. Preferably somewhere behind your representation, as behind is both the realm of the past and the shadow. And notice if after you've done it, anything wants to move or to change in the field. So maybe some representations wants to change their position, their angle. Maybe the object itself that you used feels like, it's not appropriate anymore. I want to change it to something else, bigger, smaller, different color, different shape. And if it happens, allow it. And then step back on your representation. How do you feel now? With yourself, with the representation of the shadow element or shadow essence, and with your client. Is there any change in your relationship, in your dynamic, in your presence or your ability to be present? In what or how you judge your client, if you judge them in the first place? In the sense of being distinct, meaning you're not merged with them or confused with where one ends and the other begins. If you feel like it, and only if you feel like it, you can take a moment to step on the representation of your shadow element. Maybe you'll get a sense of what it is, if you haven't done so yet. It may be useful. If it feels too much or scary, just don't do it right now. It's a very short container. But you can get a sense, maybe it's a body felt sense, maybe it's a word, maybe it's an image. You say, this is what was here and I couldn't be in touch with. And I'm already a little bit more able to because, hey, I'm standing, I've stepped on it. And you can notice the degree in which you feel comfortable being in touch with it, maybe not at all. Don't be there. Maybe a little bit, stay short and leave. Maybe you can stay for longer, it's also okay. And step off. Shake your hand, take a breath. Go back to your own representation and look now, turn towards your shadow element. And tell it in your own language, you are also a part of me. If you have a name for it, call it by name. Weakness, you're also a part of me. Submissiveness, you're also a part of me. Rageful, you're also, or rage, you're also a part of me, whatever it is. And notice the degree of ease. Maybe, hopefully, it is just a little bit easier to say it or feel it now than it was 15 minutes ago when we started. And then turn back towards your client and just look at your client for a moment. Notice how you feel now with yourself and with them. What has changed? Step off from your representation. If something wants to move or to change, allow it. And then step on the representation of your client for the last time. Notice if it feels like whatever you did with yourself somehow affected them. Often it does. How is it now for them to be in your presence, in a relationship with you? Has something changed? When you're ready, you can step off and take a moment to reflect on what did you understand about this specific client and your relationship or dynamic with them. And about what you understand about yourself in the context of them and in general. And if you feel like it, you're very welcome to share in a short sentence in the chat a meaningful insight or a meaningful change without getting to the story, without any information about the client. No. Not sure if everyone is waiting for someone else to write first. Oh, thank you, Brady. More peace in me and between us, and the client also benefited from the doing my own work. They always do, somehow. They always benefit when we are doing our own work. Centered and calmer. My self-protection as female not allow men to dominate me, seeing same in male client. Domination is often a big thing with challenging clients. I feel like there is more interpersonal understanding of the believing in the self-efficacy of my client. Like I felt the client felt that. That's nice. It was very helpful. The dynamic became clear to me. Good. Felt more whole at the end, and my client noticed so she could stay as well. Then she noticed her own stuff. One of the main reasons for clients to not notice their own stuff is because we are not noticing our own stuff. Said, very true. What came to me was when I see my fear of powerful women, I can also see yours. And thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll stop reading, but if you want to still share, you can please do that. I want to say a few words more. So what we did today was really as intense and quick intro as I could make it into Shadow Constellations. And Shadow Constellations is a modality that is here to help you learn to identify and integrate with your own shadows as facilitated with therapists, teachers, coaches, and other professional helpers. Because it is our own work that really, in our relationship with the shadow, which really shapes the kind of container we can hold, be it one-on-one or a group container. You are from diverse places in the world, but I'll let you know my next offerings. In just 2 weeks in Mumbai, India, 2.5 days workshop about early prenatal shadow constellations. So learning to work with very, very early traumas from this perspective. And in 3 weeks, 6-day immersive training in Bali, Indonesia, going through all the foundations of shadow constellations, learning to work with shadows in the clinic, with cultural shadows, with golden shadows. Remember this attraction and admiration stuff, with helplessness, with aggression, with vulnerability, with sexuality shadows, and also with death and farewell in the shadow. It's the core shadow constellations training, which I've been to give at least 60 times in the last 10 years. And if you are able to join that, you're very welcome to. Amina, who is here but without sight because he doesn't have electricity right now, it will be the assistant there. Amina, if you can jump just to say hello for a moment, it would be really lovely.
Hello, everybody. Yeah,
Thank you.
staying in the mountains is challenging.
Yes. And I'm sharing the link in the chat so you can have a look. I'll also be teaching in Vietnam, but it will be with translation to Vietnamese, so I guess it's not relevant for most of you. If you have friends in Vietnam, let me know. And online trainings will resume around October if you're interested. Um, what we did today was very, well, quick but deep dive. So first remember that the integration itself can take some more time. We did some integration now, but allow yourself some time to integrate whatever came up. Maybe take it to your own supervision or personal therapy. Maybe just share with friends who can hold the space for you if you need that. And if it feels like something came up which is really overwhelming, please let me know. I'll help you um, organize with that as a first aid. Amina, is there anything else that you would like to add about our training in Bali or in general? Right. Next Sunday, we'll have another short workshop like this, which will be focused about our shadow and the size and shape of our container for clients and students, which affects both how many clients we can work with, how stable our container is for them, how can they stay for long, and how easy is it for them to come in the first place. And so you're welcome for that too. It's also free. Is there something that anyone would like to say or share? Maybe someone who took the training already. We have several of you here. If you'd like to say something about what was it like for you, I'll be grateful. The time next week is earlier in the day, actually. It's 12, it will be 12:30 India time. And there will be a recording. Sure, Mister, please.
Yeah, hi. It's always wonderful to come and join a space where one can meet Neer either online or on site. It's just the sheer presence and being in a place which is very well held, very well connected, with deep experiential learning that comes along with each step of the listening and the constellations, and the way it basically finishes will make you feel very expanded. When you enter the training, of course, there is a lot of learning and experience that each person has in a unique way. But as you move out, a sense of silence, peace, and expansive feeling of being able to hold a lot more than you've held before is really something that each person will experience when you go through with the training with Neer. It's always wonderful to just be there with him. Any opportunity is great.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much, dear
much.
Sharmista. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hmm. Okay. Hmm. So we're almost at the hour. And I will send this recording to everyone who registered for this training, for this lesson today. And I will also send with it the details of next week if you would like to join or to receive the recording. Please feel free to share your friends with your friends um, about the free options and the paid ones. We need to make a living after all. And if you have something that you would like to share with me in person, or you have any question that didn't have space here because of the time limitations, please write to me. My email is, I'll write it, it's near.esterman@gmail.com. And you can look at my website for all offers and to join my mailing list if you would like that. I'm not taking your emails to use with anything other than um, for this lesson, of course. Um, yeah, well, 4 minutes early. That's very bad. Any question that you want to have that you have that I may answer now before we finish?
My question is if I go into session and bring my shadow with me, like it's already there, will
Mhm.
that make a difference with all clients, especially the difficult ones for me?
Well, it would usually be different shadow aspects with different clients, and
Right.
sometimes even with the same clients. If they're recurring clients and in different sessions, you'll notice different shadow aspects of yourself. However, so it's not that you can just let's bring a representation for my shadow and be done with it. You don't get off the hook so easy. But when a part of what we're doing in the training is to develop this felt sense of different aspects of the shadow. So at first you'll even notice that this is happening. Yeah. In a way, most of us are really good at identifying, small details and discern and have high discernment. Like we get what's going on and we have, we can offer ideas and perspective and everything. But in order to identify that we are activated by our shadow in real time, discernment is not enough. We need to be more distinct. And developing our distinction is a process because distinction is a state, is not a skill. Yeah. So the more you become distinct, the easier it will be for you to notice that, oh, something is going on. And then you can use your discernment to find out what's going on. Yeah. Um, and there are many ways. Some of them are very general, like I described before. If you feel judgmental towards your client, of course, you will have shadow here. But also, if you are staring at your client and you find yourself wondering, "Hmm, I wonder what kind of makeup she uses," it's also a form of shadow triggering, yeah? More subtle one. And you want to be able to see the two. Or sometimes you just feel like you can't love a client like you want to, and you think it's their fault. And it's their fault, of course, because they're doing something in the transference relationship. However, it's also your responsibility, because you allowed it to happen in that way. Yeah. And you want to do something about it and be able to bring it to the work with whatever modality you are already working with. I hope I answered your question, Aurora. Anyway, thank you very much. Lovely being with you today. Dee, we don't have time for more questions, sorry. But we'll meet tomorrow in the Shadow Strikes Back, the advanced training, so you can bring the question there. Thank you. Have a beautiful week before of you. I'll be happy to be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.